Good evening, guys. Happy Friday to all of your sunshiny faces. I did it again this week, guys, where I came home from the football game again and ended up just falling asleep and then slept for like 2 hours. I don't even know. 3 hours, I think. I need to go and take a shower, so I'm going to go and do that. But I did it like so many times last week too, where it was like I was like ended up going like laying in bed and ended up just completely falling asleep, and then instead of like actually being able to go to bed, I just have been kind of awake-ish, sleep-ish, I guess. And then I'm like, okay, you know what, I actually need to get up and go and take a shower and then go to sleep. I just need to come like straight home from the football game and take a shower and go to bed instead of this weird like I'm still kind of awake. And then I was also completely freaking out because I couldn't find my phone, and when I came home I was like starving too, because we didn't end up eating anything, because I did eat a little bit before we left, and then I had a I don't know, protein bar or whatever when we were back at the high school, because then they stayed afterwards for like an hour more maybe, like the coaches do, to talk. And like last week my dad actually like drove me back home real quick, but today they didn't really have like enough time, because normally like after the football game, like, you know, when it's a home game, like the coaches might stand around, talk a little bit, you know, the kids go to the locker room, like that kind of stuff. So like my dad had like 5 minutes to drive me home, because we're like 5 minutes from high school. But today it was just kind of like we got home and, or like back to the high school, and then straight went away and, you know, like they started their coaches meeting. So I was like, I'll just sit in the back, and like I just read my book because my phone was almost dead. Well, like I said though, I came home and I started like freaking out. Well, not now, but when I just woke up now from my little nap, I could not find my phone anywhere, and I was like, I know it's also almost dead. And I was like, I didn't leave it at the school, like in the back, like I know I had it at the school, but I didn't remember coming home with it. And I was like, and I don't remember like bringing it around with me like when I was cooking my dinner or like anything like that. And I was like, I didn't like completely, you know, like just sitting in the back of this, you know, the classroom that we were in, like, you know, I had my book, and I was like, I remember putting that back, and I was like, I don't remember when I came back, like, did I grab my, you know, my phone with me or like anything like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't like leave it there. I was like, again, I know I made it to the school with my phone. I know I had it in the back of the classroom, but I was like, I hope I didn't forget it there. And I was like, there was even another coach that came up to me at the end, was like talking, and he came over, and I was like, if I would have left it on the desk like that I was sitting at, I was like, I know he would have like said something like, oh, don't forget your phone or whatever. So I was like, I don't think I did, but I couldn't find it. It was sitting in the living room, and I was like, oh my goodness, because like it wasn't in my room and it wasn't in the kitchen. And I was like, and I know that like immediately when I came home, I know the first thing I did was come in here, and then I ended up going in the kitchen and cooked myself like something to eat. I was like, so I've literally, and then I know I went upstairs like in my parents' room, and I was like, I have no reason to bring my phone up there, like, or set it down or anything like that, because like I wouldn't have put it on their bed and like it get lost on their bed. So I was like, I know I didn't like leave it upstairs either. I was like, where is it? So I found it in the living room, sitting on the the table, which I was like, that's so weird. Normally I don't like set my phone down when I come in, but apparently I did. I must have just been really tired then and really hungry that I just had no clue where I'd put it. But anyways, found it. It was all good. Also, guys, we won the football game, which was also awesome. We are 2-0 on the season, which like somebody was saying again too. I mean, so last week we had the first ever shutout that our defense had put up, you know, or I guess defense had shut out in, I think it was like, I honestly want to say maybe it was 2007 or something like that, that it was the last time that we've had a shutout. And then because I was looking up on like the IHSA website, and they have records, like conference records, at least for the conference that we were in, that date back to like 1997 or something like that. The thing is, we'd been in that conference longer because it was the exact same conference that we were in when my mom was in school, and so that was like even, you know, back before then. So I'm thinking that they just don't have records that date that far back. So anyways, you know, like they just don't have them digitalized or online or whatever. So I was like, they had three shutout games between 1997 and like now. And the last one I want to say was like in maybe 2007 or 2000. Yeah, something like that. I think it was after Jack was born. But I was like, it's probably like half the kids at least. Like most of the teams that were playing, most of the kids that were playing on the teams like weren't even born yet the last time that they had a shutout. But I was like, I think Jack would have been, because if he was born in 2005, then that makes sense. But anyways, so, but I think somebody was saying, oh, the last time they went 2-0 on the season was like the, you know, in 20 years or something like that. So I was like, oh, I want to look up that stat now and find it out, because, you know, like they've had, like last year they won, you know, I mean, it's been a long time since they won. What was the record last year? 5 games, I think they won. It had been a while since they did that, and they made it to the playoffs, and I think it was 21 years since they last made it to the playoffs. So they've had, you know, 2 wins on the season, but 2-0, I don't know the last time that they had like 2 wins, you know, were that far over 500, because like even last year I think they were over 500, I think, maybe a couple times throughout the season, but like they didn't start off that way. Like I know they lost the first game of the season last year, and then maybe they won like the next 2 or something like that. But anyways, the team they ended up playing today was over an hour away. So, and again, we were not at home, it was an away game, so I had to take the bus, guys. It wasn't very fun because the bus was very uncomfortable for an hour drive. And then I got there, and we got the camera all set up and everything worked. And so then we got there, camera worked, everything like that. I can't even give you guys all of the statistics exactly, but it was a little scary. Also too though, this team hasn't won a game since 2019. They've been like 9-0 on every season since like I think 2000, you know, 2019 or whatever. So it's been like 4 years or something like that. Well, it did get a little bit, you know, like it was a little bit of a nail biter for a little while, because at one point, I know we were up like 2 scores. I know at halftime, like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like we were up, I think we might have been up a full 2 scores, like 14 points possibly. But it was really weird because it kept going, like we would like be up, but then we go to like kick a field goal and we missed the field goal, so then we go and like try and get a 2-point conversion, and we normally got it. But there was like one point where into I think like the 3rd quarter where it actually got really close. There was only 6 points like that we were up. I think it was right maybe after the kickoff or something like that, because we received the ball, but then we kicked off to them at halftime, and I know that they went down, and I think they scored when we were up by 2 scores. So maybe we weren't, maybe it wasn't by 14 points, maybe it was only by 13 points that we were up, or something like that. Or maybe then we scored after that, and then we missed the field goal, so then it was like, again, just a 3-point, I don't know, no, because I think we were almost always up by 2 points, but at one point it got really close, but I think we were only by 6 points, maybe it was 7, but I want to say that it was by like 6 points. Then in like the 4th quarter, it was like, I don't even know, the final was 59, I think, or 57 to 21 was the final. The 4th quarter got like completely kind of out of hand in our favor, I guess, which is funny because normally it's the opposite way. And there was another time too where I remember thinking, we ended up, and I was like, this always happens to us. It's like a close game or something like that. We like go down the field, something happens. We throw an interception or like a pick 6, and all of a sudden the game's tied up, or we end up fumbling the ball. And it was again too, we had the ball, and I think this was when we were only, it was within 1 score game. And we ended up fumbling the ball, and I was like, oh my goodness, of course this is what would happen, and you know the other team's gonna get it back, and now they're gonna go down and score, and you know they're gonna end up, you know, like tying the game or winning the game or whatever. Thankfully though, we recovered it, and then we went down and scored, and then it was like after that it was just completely, like I said, kind of out of hands in our favor, where there was like, I know, a pick we actually had 3 picks in total, I think. And then we had like, it just all of a sudden the offense scored like almost every time they got the ball. The first play they scored, like it was so fast. And at one point I was like, okay, like now we're kind of dealing with clock more, we kind of need to run time off the clock, because I want to say this was like at the 6-minute mark, and we ended up again too in the last like 6 minutes or something like that, we like got like 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns on offense. And then all of a sudden our defense kept coming up with stops too. Like it was like 4 and out, you know, kind of thing, because they kept going for it on 4th down. And then most of the time it ended up putting us in kind of a good position too. So yeah, I don't even entirely know. All I know is our quarterback, I think, had 2 or 3 touchdowns. I know one of our running backs had at least 2 or 3 touchdowns. I know there was a passing touchdown, but then I'm also a little confused because I know, like I was saying, they ended up going for 2 a couple times. So I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember when that kid got in, but I think that was like on a 2-point conversion. So I don't really remember. Like I said, my brain's a little foggy, just I'm also tired. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy game, guys. And it was scary because it was kind of close, but it was also kind of like, wow, like, you know, we were able to like just at the end of the game like kind of put it away, you know, which was nice. But like I was saying, with that whole, normally our team at the end, if it gets, you know, kind of like a nail biter, like we're gonna fumble the ball, something big's gonna happen, the other team's gonna, you know, come in and just run it back or whatever, you know. And so I was like, oh my goodness, that's what's gonna happen here. And as soon as the kid fumbled but we recovered it, I was like, okay, it's out of their system, like they're not gonna do it again. And they didn't. And then after that, like I said, we ended up, I think we might have after that gotten a fumble recovery on, you know, our defense got a fumble recovery, and I know they got 1, maybe 2 more picks in that period also too. It was like the 4th quarter, not only did it seem like it went on forever, like the last 6 minutes, like I said, but it also, like, the entire game felt like it was played in those last like 6 minutes. Just like, I don't know, it was a good game, but it was also kind of scary because like last week it was like we slowly started to get more distance and more distance. It was like our defense couldn't really like stop them for a little while, and it's just like they would take a long time to get down the field, whereas our offense would score pretty quickly, but it was taking them like longer to score, if that makes sense. So like they were running down the clock earlier in the game, like kind of on their own. But then they also had a couple of like not big plays, they had a couple of pass plays, but like nothing was like more than probably like 20 yards at all, because I know there was like even one play, it was like 4th down and like 20, but I think that there was only like maybe about 5 yards before the like 1st down marker. And so I was like, you know, like the ball, they ended up throwing the pass on 4th down, and the kid ended up catching it but didn't get a touchdown, so it was at the like 3-yard line then or something like that. So like there was just kind of a couple plays where the defense could have gotten off the field and they just like weren't able to, and that happened a couple times too, where it was just like not like a huge play or anything like that, but just kind of something big ended up happening. So again too, it was overall a decent game, but you know, again, it was thankful that at the end, you know, again, everything kind of really started to roll in our favor then. And you know, we like, you know, it doubled the score by the end of the game, and I was like, how is that even possible? Because I was like, in the 4th quarter, again, I think it was only like a 1-score game or something like that. I was like, and then all of a sudden, like in this, you know, 6 minutes left, I think, or whatever it was, like I said, all of a sudden we went up by like 20 points. I was like, I don't know, but all I know is that, you know, everything on the camera worked out too. At least on my end, apparently there was up until almost halftime, because the battery ended up dying like right before halftime. And the coach came over and he was like, oh, apparently they haven't been able to get anything on the booth or in the sidelines. So he had to adjust the little antenna thing that they have, because it sends my like camera signal up to the booth and then also to like the sidelines so that they can see and everything like that. Apparently my dad had like called, you know, like they're on the headset. My dad had like called down to the sidelines a couple of times, like, oh, we don't have like the end zone camera feed up here, you know, like can somebody see what's up or something like that. Apparently they asked a couple times, but nobody told the coach that was in charge of it. And so he never ended up coming over until I texted and was like, oh, the battery died, like with, I think it was like 30 seconds left or something like that before halftime. And then he was like, oh, also apparently they haven't been getting the feed. So I was like, was that affecting, like we could have maybe been doing better had they been able to see my end zone feed, you know, earlier in the game. But then the second half, everything was fine. But then again too, the battery ended up dying like I think 3 minutes before the end of the game too. So anyways, all worked out. Game was still good, and you know, outcome was still how we wanted and all that kind of stuff. It's just the drive was not fun. Then it was an hour back home and it was like late. The game, they actually played the game earlier. Maybe it was because we were further out. Like we would have been home after midnight had we played it like a normal like 7 or 7:30 game. I think we played at 6:30 and we were still home by like around 10 something. It was like almost 11 o'clock. And then again too, after the coaches meeting and stuff like that, it was only maybe about like 30-45 minutes, but at this time I was hungry. I had